Welcome to Wisdom of the World. Today I'm going to tell a story from Tibet. And the story is called The Man Who Refused to Kill. Once upon a time there was a young man who lived, and his name was Tashi in Tibet. He lived with his parents. He had 3 sisters and they were all married to rich men. Tashi's own family was not very rich, and it drove his parents totally crazy that their son would not kill any living beings. He would not even eat the meat that his father sometimes brought home. And they even said, the mother said, he should have been a monk. Because in the Tibetan tradition, it's the boys that take care of the parents when they're old. Poor us, how is he going to take care of us when we're old? He's so weak and kind. When he listens to that, he just says, all life is sacred. So one day his father took him on a hunt. Boy didn't really like it, but okay, he went with his father. And whenever they would sit down, the boy would just, engrave like a mantra, a prayer in the rocks. And they didn't have a very good day. They weren't catching anything until all of a sudden they saw a big hare very close by, and he came even closer and closer and closer. And in the end, he was so close, they could almost hear him breathe. And just as his father, who had a big slingshot, was about to send a big rock to the poor animal, the son stood up and said, no, father, don't kill him. And of course, immediately, the hare ran away as fast as he could, hid in the grass. And the father couldn't believe it. He said, son, why did you do that? Yes? And he says, this time you've gone too far. And he got so angry, he lost himself in his anger, and he grabbed a big rock and he says, I'm going to kill you, my only son. And the son, who realized how serious his father was, he kept going back and says, Father, please don't do it. And then he saw behind him a small, tiny little cave. And he sort of, as quick as he could, went in there as his father was throwing the rock, and he was in there. So his head was in there, but the rock still hurt his leg. Terribly, actually. But he crawled in with all his energy into that small cave, and he knew his father could never make it into that cave. And then he lay there, and because of the pain of his leg, and he lost blood, he fell unconscious. And in the middle of the night, he heard some noise outside, some voices, and he woke up, and he realized what had happened to him. And, he said very weakly, help, help. But because he couldn't speak very loud, nobody heard him. And then with all his energy, he cried out for help. And then he heard that the footsteps stopped. And a little later, he saw one face coming into the little hall and said, please come out. And then he says, I cannot come because my leg is injured. And then a few moments later, a small figure came in and crawled into the cave and helped him out. Then when he came out, he saw that there were in total 3 monks that had saved him. And they put him down on a big bed of grass, and they fed him, and they took care of his leg. And then they asked him to tell his story, which he did. How he refuses to kill animals, and how his father got so angry with him. Then the head monk said, why don't you come with us? We are wandering monks, and we are on our way to the holy sites, the holy places. So Tashi said, okay, that sounds good. So he put on a monk robe, and he went with them. And soon they came to the house of the oldest sister of Tashi. And the head monk knocked on the door and asked for food. And so after the sister had come back and gave them some food, she says, have you seen my brother, my younger brother, who was lost for the last couple of days, and I'm very worried about him? And the head monk said, no, we haven't seen him, but if we see him, we will tell him how concerned you are. She did not recognize her brother in the monk robes. And after a while, they came to the second house, or the house of the second sister. And the same happened. Also, she did not recognize, but inquired whether they had seen him. And when they came to the house of the youngest sister, she immediately recognized him and hugged him and held him and said, please come here and stay with us. Yeah, you're always welcome. And they thanked the monks, and she got the other sisters. There was a big thank you party. And they told the monks they could stay as long as they wanted, but they said thank you so much, but they went on their way. And the next day also Tashi said to his sisters, I need to make my own life. I need to find my own way, so I'm also going to go. And they begged him to stay. They loved him. But he says, no, I have to go. So they gave him a magic horse as a parting gift. And he went on his way. And after a while, him and the horse came on a big plain. And when they were just on the big plain, the horse spoke to Tashi. Remember, this was a magic horse, and he says, kill me. And once you've killed me, then take my skin and spread it on the plain and scatter all my hairs all around the plain, so that the wind will carry them to the farthest ends. And Tashi is horrified. He says, no, I'm not going to kill you. And so he instead just, ate the food that the sisters had given him and, prepared to sleep. And in the middle of the night, the horse jumped off, into a precipice and just killed himself. He died on the spot. So the next morning, when Tashi woke up and looked for the horse, he saw, to his horror, that the horse had killed himself. And he was very sad by this. And yet he also remembered the conversation he had with the horse the day before. And he said, I should do what the horse told me to do. So he took the skin of the horse, put it on the plain, and scattered the hairs all over the plain. And immediately the skin became a big, big mansion, a big house. And all the hairs that he spread all around became yaks and sheep that were herding on grass as far as the eye could see. And then the horse appeared before him and said, you have always showed compassion to all beings. This is your reward. And then the horse galloped away, and Tashi noted that everywhere where the horse had made a footprint, there was a bit of gold, a little patch of gold that appeared. When Tashi sat in his house, he thought about his parents, and he wondered how they were doing now. So he decided to go and ask them to live with him. So he went over to his parents' house, and his mother opened the door and immediately hugged him and welcomed him and begged him to stay. And also the father felt so guilty that he asked for forgiveness. And then Tashi told him about the mansion, and he took him there the next day. And so when they arrived in the mansion, he put his mother on a gold throne. He put his father on a silver throne. And he himself sat on the throne of what is very special in Tibet, pink shells. And from that day on, his parents lived with him. And guess we could say he lived happily ever after. Now, the message of this story is sort of really quite apparent. Yeah? I think the more you think of others, the more compassionate you are, the better your life will be. Thank you.